Hi, my name is Ishan Selahewal with SA Partners, and today I'd like to take you through a demo of a methodology for business system mapping as part of a Shingo journey using Nintex Process Manager. The first step is to identify all of your organization's business systems. There are two categories of business systems: work systems, which are all about how you create and deliver value to your customers, and management systems, such as your continuous improvement system, which enable your work systems to perform. Another type of management system are your shared services. So for the purpose of this demo, let's have a look at the HR system. Now, for each of your systems, the first thing that you need to do is nominate a business system owner. As you can see, in this case, it is a named owner, Virag, not a generic head of HR, because what we want is to take accountability and ownership. Once you've assigned ownership, you then need to specify the purpose of this business system. What does this business system aim to achieve? And then finally, you need to set targets for your business system as well. These are your KPIs and your KBIs. The idea here is that if all of your systems deliver on their target KPIs and KBIs, then your organization will achieve its purpose. Looking at this business system itself, HR, what we can see is it's made up of a number of subsystems. In this case, those subsystems follow the employee journey where we recruit, we induct, we train, we manage, and we offboard. So once you've identified your business system, you then need to identify your subsystems. When we drill down into the subsystem, you can see that I've done the exact same thing. So each subsystem needs to have a named owner, it needs to have its purpose defined, and it needs to have its target KPIs and KBIs set. And as you can start to see, what's happening here is if our subsystems all hit their target KPIs and KBIs, then our system will hit its KPIs and KBIs, and our organization will hit theirs. When we look at our subsystem is made up of a collection of workflows. Now, in the Shingo world, we call these workflows. Outside of Shingo, these are called processes. And again, we can start drilling down. So the workflow that we're looking at here is the advertised position workflow, which is part of our recruitment subsystem. And the recruitment subsystem is, of course, part of our HR system. Again, from our workflows, we need to define a specific workflow owner, in this case, Julian, and also nominate a workflow SME, Madeline. Similarly to the systems, we're then going to define the purpose of the workflow as well. When we look at the details of the workflow, what you'll see is I've also explained our target, outputs, and performance targets. What you're starting to see here is I'm getting very, very specific. So at the workflow level, we can start to see that from a KPI perspective, we need 70% of the people that are qualified for the role. And from a KBI perspective, we need to see involvement of the hiring manager in 100% of the ads. So the way that target deployment works is at the workflow level, it is very, very specific. But then as you go higher and higher to the system and the subsystems, they're slightly more generic. Let's have a look now at our workflow itself. Now, in Nintex Process Manager, workflows are made up of blue and white boxes, which are called activities, and activities tell us what we do. These activities are assigned to the role, and the role explains who performs the activity. Of course, some of your activities might be automated and performed by some IT systems that can be represented as well. So in this case, our HR system Workday is completing activities 4 and 5. What I can then do is click on an activity, and now I see A, B, C, D, E. These are tasks, and tasks tell us how we complete the activity. So again, the activity tells us what we do, and the tasks tell us how we do it. Now, attached to tasks, what we have are work instructions. These work instructions might be forms that we need to complete as part of conducting the activity. So we've linked out right to that. Now, that might be a Word document that's living in our SharePoint, or equally, it could be a digital portal that we need to fill in that is connected to some sort of business application. Where we do have business applications, we can also include links to them so that they're easily accessed. And we can have things like screenshots and GIFs and step-by-step guides. So the idea here really is we want to keep the top level workflow really, really simple so it's easy to follow and understand, but we're still providing a significant amount of detail so that our process participants don't need to make assumptions. And when our process participants don't make assumptions, they achieve standardization. And this is how we represent standard work. Of course, what we often want to do is improve our standard work. Not everybody is going to be able to make an edit to a published workflow. So this edit button will only be available to your process owner and expert. For everybody else, what we're going to ask them to do is leave feedback. When people leave feedback, they can leave feedback on the workflow or process in general, or a very specific part of that process. So again, this is how we create standard work, but then also drive continuous improvement. Now, a key challenge that we often have with continuous improvement is when a process or a workflow changes, people don't know about it. And then we have some people performing the old process while other people transition to the new process. Using Nintex Process Manager, what happens here is everybody is going to have a role, and then based on the role that they have, they will receive a notification when a process involving them changes. They'll also get a dashboard notification. They'll be able to click on the dashboard, see all of the changes that are relevant to them. They can view the change, which will allow them to compare this version with the previous version, and eventually they will be able to acknowledge the change as well to sign off to say, yes, I commit to changing the way that I work.
Thanks for watching. If you'd like any more information on how we can support your digital transformation or Shingo journey, please contact me at the details on the screen.